Hi, I'm going to be introducing blind contour drawing. So I have all the materials that I need. I've got my sketchbook. I've got a scrap piece of paper that I'm going to use to hide my drawing from myself as I'm working on it. I've got my mirror, and I am going to be drawing using a black ballpoint pen. So blind contour drawing is a form of continuous contour, which means that once I decide where to start and I put my drawing tool down on the page, I don't lift it again. I just make one long continuous line. So because of that, I'm not really going to be erasing, so I can work in pen. And I'm not going to need an eraser. Because I'm not going to be looking at the paper, my drawing may not turn out looking much like me, or even looking like a human being, but this is a drawing exercise that intentionally makes us focus on the process of drawing an observation rather than the outcome or the product. So because I will not be able to look at my drawing paper, I'm going to only look very, very closely at the thing I'm drawing. So in this case, myself in the mirror. So I'm going to adjust that a little bit so that the angle is a little bit better for me. Okay. And so that you know at home that I am not cheating, I'm going to put this t-shirt over my computer screen. Okay. All right, so now you guys should be able to see that I am putting my piece of paper over my hand, and I am going to look and see where I want to start, so I can look in the mirror and say, okay, I think I want to start with, say, my eye. So I'll start my eye right here. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead. I'm starting to move my pen. So I'm moving it very carefully and slowly, drawing every detail that I see. So right now I'm focusing on my pupil. I can draw a little reflection that I see in my eye. I'm drawing my eyelid. And as you can see, I might be going back over things repeatedly. Oh, I almost forgot to do my upper eyelid. And as you can see, I might be making little connecting lines that I wouldn't be making if this were not a continuous contour drawing. As you can probably also see, this drawing is not necessarily accurate. Probably the proportions are already getting fairly off. So the proportions meaning the size of one thing in comparison to another. So I'm moving my pen across the paper. You guys saw earlier a PowerPoint that was about different types of contour drawing, including cross contour. So some of these connecting lines I'm also using as cross contour. So I'm imagining if a little insect or something was moving across the surface of the thing I'm drawing, what would the path of that thing be? And so it's another way that I can continue to create this illusion of form while I'm also working within this kind of rigid structure of this type of drawing, which doesn't allow me to lift my pen. I just realized I forgot to do the lashes on the other side. I'm now doing the lashes on this side. Coming back around to the nose, which I've already drawn, so I may end up with several noses, but I have to travel over the nose to get to the mouth. So I'm now drawing the upper lip, or the area right above the lip. Now I can draw the actual upper lip and the opening of the mouth. I can do some more of these contour lines that can also describe the texture of the lips. Underneath the mouth and the chin. Then connecting back up to the side of the face. We've got little earrings on that I'm going to try to draw. Little bat-shaped earrings. Okay, I just ran into the side of the page. So I'm just going to keep going. So I'm not going to try to draw, I'm not going to try to squish it onto the page. Whenever I run into the side, the edge of the page in a drawing, I just fit what I can on the page, but then I let the rest go straight off the page. Doing my hair. My eyebrows. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop there. All right, so I can now see what I drew. And as you can see, and what you often find in blind contour is that although it may look a little funny and jumbled up, a little bit like a Picasso portrait, you can actually see a lot of the different details of the face and recognize them. So these can actually be a lot of fun. So the final step that we're going to add is then adding some watercolor to our work. And before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a photo of my work in progress. I do want to also mention that if this were not for a video, I would have kept going with this drawing. I really only did one side of my face. And I didn't really do my neck, but you always have to do your neck in a portrait. One of my biggest pet peeves is when people just do floating heads. All right, so when you guys add your watercolor, I'm going to insist that you start with the negative space. So that's going to be the space around the person, around the face, around the features. So because of the fact that we're doing blind contour, it may not be entirely clear where the negative space starts and ends. So that's fine, you can have fun with that. Now you may notice that I am just applying water at this point. And that's because I'm about to do what we call a wash. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mix my colors. So I can use this part of my tray, and I'm going to take at least two colors and mix them together. Right. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add that color to my portrait. And I can start right at the line if I want to. And notice when you're doing a wash, the color will just spread out on its own. You can help it a little bit by dabbing and adding more water to it. If there are places where the color is starting to dry out a little bit, you can add a little bit more water. Anywhere where it's starting to dry out, where it dries out, you will get a line there. So if you don't want hard edges in the middle of a shape, you'll want to add more water before that dries. So I'm continuing to mix my color and add to this color. I'm continuing to work first in the negative space. And I want to encourage you also to paint some areas where you're going over some lines. So now I am going over. So this area with the eye, I've added water. So I'm going into this whole area, not just one little piece. So I'm going to mix my color again. So this is one of my rules of my art class, is that you do have to mix your colors. You can't just use the color right out of the tube or off of the palette. And now I'm using that color in a larger area, so it's not confined within those lines. And if it gets a little bit too dark, I chose a fairly light shade of green. But if it gets a little bit too dark and you can't see those lines, remember you can just use your paper towel, or in this case I've got tissues, to mop that up a little bit. All right, now when I pick this up, it's still wet, so it is going to run a little bit, but that's okay. It's fairly abstract anyway. So, as you can see, we've got a pretty abstract portrait going on that I can continue to add to.